In this video, I'll uncover the number one thing, the worst thing that's causing insulin resistance in your body. Hey Wellness Warrior, I'm Dr. Zarowski, and many times when we look to the number one worst thing that's causing metabolic dysfunction and insulin resistance in your body, we look to the research and we say, this is what research says it is. However, what I'm going to do is bring to you my clinical experience. When I work with individuals every single day, and I've seen over 20,000 patient visits, I find a reoccurring theme that shows me that many people are doing the same things that are causing insulin resistance. So let's go ahead and break it down, and let's look at the number one thing that I see causing insulin resistance in people just like you. And the number one thing is going to be drinking sugary beverages, okay? Whether it's sweet tea or soda or energy drinks, and any of these other drinks out there, they're loaded with sugar. And the research shows us some very interesting facts about these sugary drinks and how they relate to your metabolic function. One research article points out that just one can of soda per day can lead to an increased risk in type 2 diabetes. Now, this is kind of obvious, right? When you hear this, you're like, yeah, of course, if you're drinking soda, that could lead to diabetes. However, one of the problems is many individuals will drink a can of soda per day and think, well, I am not following a bad diet and I eat pretty healthy and I only drink one can of soda per day. But according to the research, that's all it takes to lead you into a place of insulin resistance. Now, one of the big problems that you find with many of these sugary beverages, there's no vitamins, there's no minerals, and there also is no fiber. So all that sugar just goes straight to your bloodstream, and it's very difficult for your body to handle. Now, another big issue is that they're loaded with fructose, typically high fructose corn syrup. And this particular sweetener is used often because it's very inexpensive and it keeps the profits high on these different beverages. Now, the issue is that the liver is the main place where fructose is metabolized. And so whenever you consume these beverages, it's very taxing on the liver, and the liver has to deal with it. And it can lead to insulin resistance in the liver. Now, the other thing that's really interesting about soda drinkers is the research says that soda drinkers consume 17% more calories when they consume soda. So that's really interesting because when you consume soda, you're eating more calories. More calories leads to more belly fat, which leads to insulin resistance. So you're really on this negative feedback cycle here. So that's one of the big things I see so many people I work with fall into the trap of. Whether it's soda, whether it's very sweet coffees and teas, whatever it is, it's those sugary beverages that are really messing you up. Now let's talk about two other major factors that I think are very important. One is going to be a sedentary lifestyle, okay? If you wake up in the morning, you go to work, many people are working from home now, so they basically throw their clothes on, go to the computer, sit down, and they're sitting there all day. And then after they're done working, they're so tired, they go to the couch and watch TV, right? And of course, lots of snacking in between and eating. So that sedentary lifestyle has been shown to be a major factor in insulin resistance. Why? Simply because when you're not stimulating any muscle activity, you're gonna find yourself in a position where you're not getting that glucose uptake, and as a result of that, your blood sugar will remain higher. There's one study in the Journal of Physiology that showed that by exercise, specifically doing high-intensity interval training, you could drastically improve your insulin sensitivity. There was a study in Biomedical Central looking at endocrine disorders, and what they found is that if you were to do high-intensity interval training, it showed remarkable improvements in insulin action. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because we have to look for solutions to this inactivity. And I'll tell you in just a second what you can do in order to really bring down your levels of blood sugar and also insulin in order to become more insulin sensitive. So there's another study in the Frontiers of Physiology, and what it showed us is that all metrics of cardiometabolic health increase. So we realize now that a sedentary lifestyle is causing a huge problem with high insulin levels, high blood sugar levels, leading to insulin resistance and metabolic dysfunction. So what we can do is we can increase activity. But the hard part is that if you're sitting at a computer all day and you only exercise for a half hour, then you literally still have almost no activity throughout the day. So what the research shows us is that if we incorporate activity throughout the day, it does a great job at driving down insulin and sugar levels. And so what we can do is we could do some small bursts of high-intensity interval training in the morning, noon, and even at nighttime. What does that look like? Well, it might look like doing some jumping jacks in the morning at some point. 2 minutes all out jumping jacks as fast and as many as possible in a 2-minute period. That would be an example. Or maybe in the afternoon, doing some air squats, as many as you can in 2 to 3 minutes, or even mixing it up a little bit. Do a few push-ups, do some air squats, do some jumping jacks, do it at a fast pace that actually is going to kind of get you breathing a little bit. And that would be an example of high intensity interval training that will really drive down your blood sugar. Now, the number 3 thing that we have to watch out for is going to be sugary foods. Once again, this one's pretty obvious, but also not so obvious at the same time, because sugar actually comes in 125 different names on ingredient labels. So many people are finding themselves in a position where you don't even understand what you're looking at when you're looking at food labels. So what you want to do is you want to put yourself in a position where you're eating whole foods and don't buy foods that are prepackaged and processed that have a bunch of ingredients that you don't understand. So try to consume foods that are free of sugar and free of all the processed sugar. Now we can look to more natural sugars like fruits and things of that nature that are going to be able to be handled in a much better capacity by your metabolic system and also not going to drive you towards insulin resistance. Now, as far as another thing that you could do in order to naturally decrease your blood sugar levels and improve your levels of insulin sensitivity, and do it naturally, of course, right? Because many people that I work with are taking blood sugar medications. And so if you want to do it naturally, one of the most powerful compounds that you'll find in nature is berberine, okay? Berberine has been shown to work just as good as many of the different diabetes medications that are on the market today. So I'll put a link in the description below to berberine. But what you can do is simply try to incorporate that throughout the day as well. And especially try to incorporate berberine supplementation throughout the day when your blood sugar is normally higher. We can also look at using something like apple cider vinegar. Okay, this is something that most people have in their household at this point because it's very effective at also driving down your blood sugar, and it's very easy to implement. You can do this 2 to 3 times a day, consuming 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar at each of those times. So these are some top things to not only avoid in your diet, but also some things you can add in order to drive down your blood sugar and improve your insulin sensitivity. I'm Dr. Zarowski, and if you like this video, I think you'll really like this video over here next.